Hey guys, Raizins here, and back with another video. I want to thank everybody for the great reception my last video got. It was awesome, got a lot of great questions, a lot of good comments, and I'm trying to answer one of those comments today. I got a comment from Lethal Pushin, I think I said your name right. This person had a really good question, which was like, how do you actually actively learn a champ? And I thought that was a pretty decent question because I mean, just saying learn a champion is a little vague. So I thought I'd make a quick video and also throw in a couple of examples of how I generally would learn a champ. But I just want to stress this is different for everybody, okay? I don't want you guys to go out there and be like, oh, I have to do what Raisin said, because we're all different people. Some people probably learn much better by watching streamers than others. Some people just like spamming a lot of games. So, you know, take my advice with a grain of salt. But yeah, I'll give you my opinions. So a couple of the questions I'm going to answer in this video. How do you actually learn new matchups? That was one of Lethal Pushin's questions. And that was actually a really good question, which is when I just throw myself into a matchup, right? How do I know when I missed an opportunity to trade, or when I missed an opportunity to go for an all-in? Because if I'm, you know, a gold player and I'm reviewing my footage, I don't know, you know, if I should be all-inning in a matchup I don't play because I don't know the matchup. So how do I get past that hurdle? This is a really difficult one to answer, but I'll give it a shot in this video. Again, it's different for every single person. Kind of depends on how you see the game and how you see gameplay, but I'll try and give it a shot. And then another question is, there was a second comment in the video, which I don't really think I'm going to get into in this one, but it's basically like mid-diamond range. What do you actually do to climb out of mid-diamond? Because that's quite a common elo for viewers and things like that, people who are trying to like improve and hit master. So I'll get to that in another video most likely, but let's get into the main questions of today's video. So one of the points Lethal Pushin made, which I'll show you the comment here, was I find that low elo players tend to stay towards mage supports or enchanters who can just deal free poke and avoid champions like Braum or Alistair. So in my experience, I checked the OPGG stats and it doesn't seem like there's a massive difference in like pick rates, but the win rates definitely do change. The win rates change quite a lot depending on what kind of champion style there is, right? So, you know, more aggressive champions in lower elo do tend to have, like, in my opinion, lower win rates than they should. Mainly because I think if you're playing a melee versus ranged matchup in low elo, like if you're playing Alistair into Sona and you don't really know the matchup, then it's a very, very hard matchup. You're just going to get pushed under tower, you're going to get poked, you're going to be half HP for the whole lane, and you won't be able to play that well. So you need to know what your windows. But saying that, it's also easy for the Sona to play that matchup badly, because if she walks up too early, and you're playing a really aggressive champion like Alistair, Leona, Rel, something like that, you could punish the Sona, and after one all-in and Sona like burning her flash, for example, her laning phase is just over, you know, her laning phase is just over. So it goes both ways. But the low elo comment, I did write down something which I think is true across most elos, which is it's really hard for players when they play these kind of enchanter passive kind of low what do I say, low impact in lane at least supports, to get feedback on when they're doing something wrong. So for example, you're playing Lulu, you're playing something like Lulu Vayne, you want to scale. Now most people would think, oh, Lulu Vayne, you just sit back in lane and you chill, right? But I mean, you ask a high elo player, Lulu Vayne in a lot of matchups can bully in lane because they're double ranged, they have very good kind of quick short trades. Vayne can tumble in and trade on people, and then once they get a little bit of items and they're ready to kind of spam, Lulu's got some mana regen, they can actually trade very effectively in certain lanes where they chase people down, because Lulu will speed the Vayne up and then Vayne can just go to town on whoever it is they're chasing. And that starts in laning phase. That's not something that only starts after one item. So, but when I play against low elo supports, if they pick Lulu Vayne, they're not going to do anything in lane. They're just going to sit back really, really far behind and basically just they're just like, it's 1 versus 2. The Vayne is trying to farm, Lulu's behind her, and I can do whatever I want in lane. Now, that is, in my opinion, a side effect of Lulu not really having the same kind of feedback as, say, an Alistair or a Leona playing passively in lane would. When you have an Alistair or a Leona who plays passively, they literally contribute nothing to the lane, right? A Leona, for example. Alistair, maybe he can heal you a little bit, but when you have a Leona who's sitting behind you all lane, you notice it immediately, and you probably ask them, or you ping them, hopefully you're not being toxic, but you ask them to like, hey, can you like help me? I need to CS, I need to pressure, can you try and like, you know, look for all-ins and stuff. So they immediately get the feedback, or it's very obvious that, hey, I'm not doing anything on Leona. When you're playing on Lulu and you're sitting back, it still feels like you're doing something, because you technically are. You're shielding your AD carry every now and then if they go for trades. But I mean, it's so maybe some people will think, oh, you're actually, you're actually contributing. But you don't get the great feedback that, like, hey, I'm not actually contributing to the lane, I'm not winning trades, I'm not pressuring, I'm not controlling the bush. So that's all really important stuff, and it contributes, in my opinion, to a really, really big gap in terms of game knowledge that supports have in low elo. If you spam Lulu, if you spam Sona, and you sit back and you play very passively in lane, it's not to say you're a bad player and you can't learn or anything, nothing like that. I'm just saying you aren't actively giving yourself learning opportunities, if that makes sense. I'm trying to word it in a way that makes sense here, but you're not giving yourself opportunities to be like, oh, okay, I need to do this better. Oh, I need to do this better. You're just kind of laying back, waiting for your 2 items and just doing nothing in the game, which I think contributes to a slower improvement. It doesn't mean you don't improve, but it definitely means you have less opportunities to. So that's the first question from Lethal Pusheen, the topic, which was the kind of enchanter mage supports and why a lot of lower elo players tend to favor those. Because in my opinion, a lot of support players there's a lot of kind of pressure on support players when you pick something like Leona, Thresh, Rel to win your lanes aggressively, and I think some support players tend to not like that pressure to win lane. They like to just be there for the team, kind of helping their team along. But unfortunately, if you want to climb to higher and higher elos, you do have to start taking a really active role in the lane, because I'm sure every AD carry knows this. Supports win lanes. AD carries do not win lanes. Support wins lanes. It is often a support versus support battle to decide who is going to come out on top in laning phase in the first 10 minutes. So anyway, that's just really important. I thought I'd mention that. But the next topic is what tips do I have for the viewers, for you guys, to learn your matchups better? How do you actually learn a matchup? If I tell you, hey, I'm playing this Thresh versus Blitzcrank matchup, how did I learn it? How do I know when I can do things and when I can't do things? Because like I mentioned earlier, missing a trade is very hard to notice in the game. And even if you do a review, noticing when you miss an opportunity can be very, very difficult. So how do you actually do that? So I have a couple of examples here, but I'll go through a couple of points while my solo queue footage is playing in the background, which is, the first point is really, really obvious, and I just want to say this because I have to say this quite a lot. I play the game a lot. Most high elo players have played the game a lot. They played the game 4, 5, maybe even 10 times as much as the average gold or silver player has played the game. We play the matchups repeatedly, over and over. Okay, so what I'm gonna say here is I have other points besides just play the game more, don't worry, but you do have to combine that with actually playing the game quite a bit. So League is not a game which you can just play the matchup once and understand the ins and outs of every single state of the matchup. So I would recommend, first of all, you need to actually play the matchup. You need to play the game. You don't have to play as much as a master elo player, but you do actively have to play the game and play the matchups. So that being said, one of the things you need to do is pick into these matchups aggressively. Something I notice is when I look at people's OPGGs, when they OPGG review, often they'll try and pick winning matchups that they know are winning, but then you don't actually learn if, for example, I'm playing Thresh and I want to know, hey, what is the Thresh Blitzcrank matchup like in this game? But I'm comfortable on playing Leona into Blitzcrank. It's very easy to default for me to just go, okay, well, I just want to play safe and I'll just pick Leona here. But if I don't pick Thresh, then I'll never learn. So the first thing is actually pick the champion you want to learn matchups into. This is why one-tricking is so great. If you one-trick a champion, you will eventually learn the matchups. Even bad matchups, and bad matchups in solo queue you can do just fine in if you one-trick. So yeah, pick the matchup. Again, very obvious. I know play the game and pick the matchup are very obvious points, but don't worry. We'll get to more interesting examples in a second. And then the second point I have is watch streamers. And I know this is kind of a weird plug, but you can watch my games. You can watch Lathyrus on Twitch. He streams. He's one of the best Bard players in EU West. So whoever you want to watch, if they play a champion at a decent level, watch them and ask questions about what they're doing. Like, why did they go in for a trade there? Maybe if you see an all-in and they didn't go for an all-in, ask yourself, wait, why didn't they go for an all-in? Because they're not perfect. They might have missed it, but at the same time, they could have, maybe they noticed that enemy jungle could be bot side. Maybe they noticed their wave was bad and you didn't. So ask yourself those kind of questions. You watch a streamer and you can go, I would have flashed in there. Why didn't he flash for that kill? oh, it's because he knew that enemy top lane was TPing before I knew, so therefore he didn't chase. So he actually lives, and the enemy top lane wastes their TP. That's a really good example of like kind of game awareness that high elo players show that a lot of lower elo players miss. They would kind of in game is what I'm talking about. In game, they would just immediately do the impulsive thing, whereas high elo players have a little bit more map awareness or game awareness to notice these kind of details, and that changes their decisions quite a lot. So yeah, like watch streamers, pick up what they're doing, and ask questions. Feel free to ask questions in my chat, you know? Come into my chat, be like, hey, Raizins, why did you do this? And, you know, sometimes it'll be like, oh, because I was just stupid and I misplayed the fight. Other reasons it'd be, oh, because I was about to get ganked. Or if you saw there was a, you know, somebody used the vision plant in bot lane and I didn't know who it was. So I didn't really want to risk getting ganked at this point because my AD carry would miss a lot of CS. All this kind of stuff you can ask in my stream. You can ask in a lot of people's streams. Pretty much every support player that streams in high elo, hopefully, would answer your questions and answer them well. So, yep, watch streamers, really important point. That's how I picked up a lot of important tips about the game, watching pro play as well. I mean, that's the exact same point as streaming, but yeah, very important point. So that would be the second point of how to actually learn matchups. And then the third one I wrote down was getting out of your comfort zone. Now, I know this is kind of linked to pick the matchup, but getting out of your comfort zone. Actually, this is a great example. I'm going to actually rewind this. So this point in the game, we were very far ahead, and I saw Blitzcrank roaming mid. And I am incredible. This is on a Smurf account, by the way. So you know, I was somewhat limit testing. I was going for some crazy hooks and crazy plays. But in this situation, I thought to myself, okay, can we dive 2v2 here? You know, while Blitzcrank is mid, even if Vayne has ult, because as you see, she's got level 6, she's got ulti. I was thinking, let's try it. Let's give it a shot. So I land the hook here and I pop my R. And what I misjudged here was that my Jhin was reloading, he was behind me, and then on top of that, while Vayne is R'ing, we basically don't deal damage to her, and then I mispositioned and I got hit into the wall, as you'll notice. So I went for this play and I was kind of 50-50 on it, right? I even said in the stream, I said like, yeah, I wasn't really sure about the dive, but let's just go for it. I'm gonna go for the hook. This turned out to be a terrible dive. This turned out to be a really, really terrible dive, right? As you can see, my Jhin was pissed off at me. You know, this guy was a bit of an edgelord, but he was pissed off at me. But what did I actually get from that dive? You know, I'm not tilted. I'm not mad that I went for the dive. I actually get more from making that decision than I do from, you know, just sitting back and being like, oh, maybe we could have dove. Well, now I've learned. You know, I made a mistake. It was a relatively noticeable mistake, but I did go for it. Even if I land the hook and ulti and flay into Vayne, if my Jhin is reloading, if he isn't ready to fourth shot the Vayne quickly, I don't have enough health to tank the tower. That's pretty much what I learned, right? So that's a really good example. I mean, that was just a massive coincidence, not planned at all. But I have a couple of other examples lined up, and let's get into it. So in this example here, I was on a Smurf again, but this is like a mid-diamond Smurf. So I was playing this matchup out, and it's Jhin Karma, right? So if you were watching my stream, what would you do to actually learn the matchup? Or if you were playing in my position, what would you do to actually learn the matchup? Well, we came into lane, and as you can see, I have a Samira AD carry. I can't really push the wave with Samira AD carry, and I'll just, you know, if you can see, Karma just outranges me, right? And she out DPSs me if she can land her Qs. So what do I actually do? We just give the wave. We give the push. I completely relinquish the push until level 3. Now that I hit level 3 here, you're going to see me start to play much, much more aggressive. I'm not going to just give up the bush. I'm not just going to walk away. I'm not just going to give up the wave. Now, you can see they're doing the right thing here. They're pushing the wave. They ward to make sure that I can't hook somebody. But look what I did. I took the ward. I knew that they were going to ward. I planted myself in the bush. As soon as they warded, I just focused that. I focused the ward and I pinged my Samira to hit the ward as well. And then I get a free hook. This one bush advantage basically gives us an all-in, right? So I pulled the trigger at level 3 immediately because I know that's when I'm strong and when they per se are weaker. You know, they don't have any way of stopping me if I land a hook from going in. So as soon as I know I have bush control, Jhin isn't allowed to walk up anymore. We also know jungler's bot lane, but what I didn't want them to do was push the wave and then just walk into our jungle and get vision. So I went for a trade first, and it ended up being an all-in because the enemy team just misplayed a little bit. So that's fine. And then here, you know, this was a little bit of kind of solo queue fiesta. We end up getting away with it. Talia, like, just barely doesn't kill my Samira. But at the end of the day, that's one of these big things in a kind of Thresh Karma matchup that you need to understand, which is early game, level 1 and 2, you are just going to get damaged. You're going to get out-pushed, you're going to get out-CC'd. sorry, not CC'd, out kind of ranged, and that's just how it is. You just kind of have to suck it up and deal with it. So yeah, that was one of these matchups where you have to learn that. And then I have another example here. If I go to this, so in this example, I am playing Thresh into Bard. Now, if I pause the video and you guys have a think about what Thresh into Bard is like compared to Thresh into Karma, right? How am I going to play the matchup differently? So in Thresh into Karma, you guys saw me, I was basically just sitting under tower, just catching as little as much XP as I can with as little interaction as possible before level 3. And then Thresh into Bard, if any smart people out there understand, you guys know how the matchup's going to go, right? I am very, very strong compared to Bard level 1. I have Flay, I have Aftershock. I can pressure them much harder than they can, but they are double range champions. And I do have to respect that if they manage to start hitting the wave, I will not be able to just face tank the entire wave. So you see, I kind of peek my head into the bush, get bush vision control, or rather just bush control, and then Bard starts walking up. Now, again, I'm not willing to trade. As you see, when my MF tanks a Jin Q and we're losing control of the wave, I'm not willing to trade in that position. I back off and I kind of give up a little bit of pressure. And then I see Bard makes a mistake. Now, this is a mistake a lot of low elo players will use. There's no reason for Bard to Q here. Okay, even if he lands Q onto MF, I don't think it actually results in a tremendous amount. And actually, if anything, him not having Q gives me back control of the bush. So as soon as he misses his Q, you see, I just walk in, I use my Aftershock to control the bush, and now you can see me and MF are hitting the wave, and Bard is not hitting the wave. So we actually are going to get a level 2 advantage. I know this, and therefore I can pressure very hard. Now, I wouldn't do this in the Karma matchup, but I can do this in the Bard matchup. You see how I play it. I get level 2, I walk into the bush, I don't even hook. I don't even need to go for a hook. Why? I can just Flay and ignite him and auto him, and they die. There's absolutely nothing they can do. There's no counterplay for a Bard besides just to flash very, very early. So I understand the matchup well enough that I can pressure that. And that is something that you could see by watching my stream and asking questions. Hey, why did you walk up here in the level 2 matchup, etc. Now, the matchups do change depending on where the jungle started. For example, the jungler could have started bot lane here, and it could have been a jungle that I'm scared of getting level 2'd or level 3'd by. Maybe a Xin Zhao, maybe a Jarvan, I don't know. And then I probably wouldn't play the level 2 this aggro. I might give the enemy Jhin and Bard a little time to push in. I'll play really safe. Maybe I'll even ward early around river area before we go to lane, just to make sure I don't get level 2'd. All this kind of stuff is important, right? But at the end of the day, I'm trying things. I've played the Thresh Bard matchup probably hundreds of times. And I tried to all in at different points during the lane, and I've learned my lesson through trial and error. And I've also learned my lesson through watching. Like, for example, I can watch the Thresh Bard matchup from the other side by watching Lathyris. Lathyris is a great support streamer. I've watched a couple of his streams recently, and you know, he plays the matchups very well. He's rank 3 on the US right now, and I can learn a couple things about it from the Bard's perspective. You know, what is Bard good at? What is Bard bad at in lane? But anyway, that's the end of my super long rant. I hope it was useful. And just to answer the other question, Kultursig, I think that's how you say your name, sorry. Kultursig. You said, I'm bouncing between D4 and D2 on EUS, but games feel like a coin flip. So this video is getting a little too long for me to talk about that at length. But what I'll do is I'll make another video about it probably tomorrow and talk about kind of why I think Diamond Elo games are a little more coin flip, and pretty much there's like a couple of specific things that I think you need to learn to climb out of Diamond Elo, because it is a very ego-centric Elo. People think they're really, really, you know, big shots once they hit mid-diamond. It's very hard to get teamwork going in that kind of Elo range. And yeah, the games are very snowbally. I find when I'm in mid-diamond on my Smurfs, yeah, the games are very snowbally. But I'll talk about that tomorrow in the next video. Hopefully you enjoyed this. I stream every night, 8 p.m. on Twitch, as per usual. Smash that like button, that notification bell. You know the YouTube drill. You're probably already bored by hearing that by now. But anyway, thank you very much. Tune into the stream tonight, 8 p.m. Appreciate it, guys. Have a nice evening. Good luck in solo queue. Thank you.